Someone's rude to you, public insult, disrespectful comment, attempt to embarrass you in front of others, and you don't snap back, don't defend yourself, don't even flinch. You respond with silence or one calm sentence, and they immediately regret it. Not because you destroyed them with a clever comeback, because your response made their rudeness look pathetic. Most people think handling rudeness means fighting back, matching their energy, putting them in their place with something equally cutting, but that lowers you to their level. You're playing their game, and even if you win, you've lost your peace. The most powerful responses are silent, calm, stoic. Not because you're weak or passive, because you're strong enough not to let their rudeness pull you down, strong enough to stay composed while they fall apart, strong enough to make them regret their behavior without saying much at all. Marcus Aurelius knew this. The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You don't have to match rudeness with rudeness. Your calm is the response that exposes how small they are. Today, we'll walk through 6 silent, stoic responses that make rude people regret their behavior immediately. Response number 4 is what they hate most, because it turns their rudeness into a mirror they can't escape. By the end, you'll have responses that protect your dignity while making rudeness collapse on itself. If you're tired of letting rude people steal your peace, this will change how you handle disrespect. Subscribe to keep learning Stoic strength. Now, let's begin. Response 1. Complete silence and calm eye contact. Someone says something rude to you, an insult, a dismissive comment, something meant to embarrass you in front of others. Most people immediately react, defend themselves, snap back, get flustered. You do none of that. You just look at them calmly for 2 or 3 seconds, then turn away and continue what you were doing as if they didn't speak. No words, no expression, just brief eye contact and you move on. This is devastatingly effective, because rudeness is a performance. It needs an audience reaction to work. When you give no reaction at all, the performance fails. Your silence is louder than any comeback could ever be. I watched this happen at a family gathering. Someone made a cutting remark about a relative's career choice in front of everyone, the kind of comment designed to sting, to make someone defensive, to create awkwardness. Expected response would be defending the choice, getting embarrassed or snapping back. None of that happened. The target just looked at the rude person calmly for about 3 seconds. No anger, no hurt, just a neutral look. Then turned to someone else and continued the conversation they'd been having as if nothing had been said. The room went quiet for a moment. The silence hung there. The rude comment was just sitting in the air with no response. And suddenly everyone could see how petty it was. The person who made it tried again a few minutes later with another jab. Same response. Calm look for a few seconds, then complete dismissal. By the 3rd attempt, they'd stopped trying, because their rudeness was getting no traction, just bouncing off this calm wall of indifference. What makes this work is the eye contact. If you just ignore them completely, it could look like you didn't hear or you're avoiding confrontation. But when you look at them first, it shows, I heard you, I'm not bothered. You're not worth a verbal response. That brief look communicates everything without you saying a word. You're in complete control. They tried to rattle you and failed. Epictetus taught, if evil be said of thee, and if it be true, correct thyself. If it be a lie, laugh at it. Sometimes the laugh is silent, just calm indifference that shows their words have zero power over you. The person who stays calm while someone else is being rude automatically wins, because calm is strength. Reaction is weakness. Use this when someone's trying to embarrass you publicly, when you're dealing with passive-aggressive comments, when engaging verbally would only escalate things. The 2 to 3 second look is crucial, long enough to show you heard them, short enough to show they're not worth more of your time. Then you turn away with complete confidence, not angry, not hurt, just done with them. If rudeness bounces off your silence, you have stoic strength most people will never develop. But the second response uses one sentence that stops rudeness even faster. Response 2. I'm sure you didn't mean that the way it sounded. Someone says something rude to you, and instead of getting defensive or snapping back, you respond calmly. I'm sure you didn't mean that the way it sounded, said with a neutral tone. Not sarcastic, not accusatory, just that one sentence. Then you pause. Let them sit with it. Don't elaborate. Don't explain what you mean. Just say it and wait. This response is brilliant because it does several things at once. It acknowledges the rudeness. Everyone heard it was rude, but it gives them a gracious way out by assuming good intent. At the same time, it makes crystal clear what you just said was unacceptable. They now have to either admit they were being rude by apologizing or claim it was unintentional and backtrack. Either way, they're on the defensive, and you did that without raising your voice or being aggressive. I saw someone use this at a work meeting. A colleague made a dismissive comment about their project in front of the team. One of those remarks that sounds like feedback, but is really just disrespect. You could feel the room tense up. Everyone expected the target to either defend their work or let it slide awkwardly. Instead, they just said calmly, I'm sure you didn't mean that the way it sounded. Then stopped talking, just looked at the person and waited. The silence that followed was uncomfortable for the rude person, not for the target. They stammered, Oh, I just meant, I didn't mean it like, I was only trying to, full backtrack mode. Suddenly they were explaining themselves when moments ago they'd been the one attacking. The power dynamic completely flipped. The target stayed calm and composed. The rude person looked flustered and small. Everyone in that room saw exactly what happened. Rudeness met with grace, and rudeness lost. Here's why this works so well. Most rude people don't think they're being rude. They think they're being honest or funny or just speaking their mind. This response forces them to confront what they actually said. It shines a light on their behavior without you having to lecture them or get emotional about it. The phrase, I'm sure you didn't mean that, is generous, but the rest of the sentence, the way it sounded, makes clear that it sounded bad. Really bad. And now they know you noticed. Everyone noticed, and they need to fix it. Seneca taught that kindness is invincible. This response is kind. It assumes the best about them, but it's also firm. It draws a line. You can be compassionate without being a doormat. This is how you do that. Use this when someone makes a passive-aggressive comment, when a joke is actually an insult, when you're in a professional or family setting where you want to address the rudeness without burning the relationship. The key is your tone. It has to sound genuinely neutral. If there's any sarcasm, you're fighting back and the power of this response disappears. If you've ever used this response and watched someone backtrack in real time, write grace with boundaries below. Your ability to stay kind while calling out rudeness inspires others who are still learning this strength. Giving someone a gracious way out while exposing their rudeness is stoic mastery. But the third response is even more direct. Response 3. Interesting, why would you say that? Someone says something rude to you, and you respond with genuine curiosity. Interesting. Why would you say that? Not defensive, not angry, just curious. Then you wait. Make them explain their rudeness out loud. Force them to put into words why they thought that comment was appropriate. This response is devastating because rudeness relies on hitting fast and moving on. Say something cutting, get the reaction, done. But this stops them cold, makes them defend what they just said. And here's the thing. Most rude comments can't actually be explained without sounding even worse. When someone has to articulate why they were rude, they realize they have no good reason. They were just being mean. And now everyone knows it. I watched someone handle a cutting remark this way at a social gathering. Another person made a comment about their life choices, One of those remarks disguised as concern, but really just judgment. You're still doing that? When are you going to get serious about your life? Said in front of several people. Expected response would be defensiveness, explanation, maybe embarrassment. Instead, they just looked at the person and said, "Interesting. Why would you say that?" Then waited. The rude person was completely thrown. They hadn't expected to have to defend their comment, started stumbling. I was only trying to find words that made their rudeness sound reasonable, but there weren't any, because the comment was just rude. No matter how they tried to explain it, it came out sounding judgmental and unnecessary. The more they talked, the worse they looked. Meanwhile, the target just stood there calmly, waiting for an actual answer that never came. Finally, the person mumbled something about just trying to help and went quiet. The conversation moved on, but everyone there had seen it. Rudeness exposed by one simple question. No fighting, no defending, just explain yourself. And they couldn't. Here's why this works. Rude people count on you being too hurt or too polite to challenge them directly. This challenges them without attacking, just asks them to justify what they said. And most rudeness crumbles under examination. It sounds confident when it's said quickly, but when you slow it down and make them explain it, suddenly it sounds petty and cruel, which it was all along. You're just making that visible. Socrates used this technique constantly. Ask questions instead of fighting. Make the other person examine their own position. When someone has to defend rudeness rationally, they realize it's indefensible. Epictetus taught, don't let others' judgments disturb you. By asking calmly why they said what they said, you're showing their judgment doesn't disturb you at all. You're just genuinely curious what would make someone think that was okay to say. Use this when someone insults you directly, when a joke comes at your expense, when someone's being dismissive or belittling. The key is your tone. It has to sound genuinely curious, not challenging or sarcastic. You're not saying why would you say that as an accusation. You're asking it like a real question. That's what makes them have to answer it. And that's when their rudeness falls apart. Making rude people explain themselves exposes how empty their rudeness really is. But the fourth response is the one they hate most. Response 4. Agree and amplify absurdly. Someone insults you, and instead of getting defensive, you agree with them. But you take it to an absurd extreme, said completely deadpan with maybe a slight smile. They say you're lazy. You respond, absolutely. I'm working on doing nothing at all. It's an art form. They say you're awkward. You say, I know, I'm aiming to be completely unbearable. Almost there. You turn their insult into comedy by agreeing so absurdly that everyone can see you're making fun of the rudeness itself. This response drives rude people insane because it takes away their power completely. They expected hurt. They expected defensiveness. They got neither. Instead, you're so unbothered that you turn their insult into a joke. And the joke isn't on you, it's on them. Because everyone can see their attempt to hurt you failed so badly that you're now using it as entertainment. I saw someone handle this perfectly at a workplace lunch. A co-worker made a comment about them not having real responsibilities. One of those passive-aggressive jabs meant to diminish. Must be nice having so much free time. Not working as hard as the rest of us, said in front of several people. Expected response would be defensive. Actually, I work very hard. Let me list everything I do. Instead, they just said deadpan, you're right. I'm basically on permanent vacation, living the dream. Brief pause, slight smile. The table went quiet for a second. Then someone laughed, because it was obvious they were joking. The absurdity made it clear, and suddenly the rude comment looked ridiculous. The co-worker tried to double down. I'm serious. You don't understand real pressure. Same deadpan response. True. My biggest stress is deciding which coffee to drink. Very demanding. More laughter. Not at the target, at the absurdity, and by extension at the person who'd tried to insult them. The co-worker stopped trying, because every insult was getting turned into comedy, and the comedy was making them look bitter and small, while the target looked confident and funny. They'd lost completely, without the target ever getting defensive or mean. Just absurd agreement that exposed how petty the rudeness was. Here's why this works. Insults need you to care, to feel hurt. Absurd agreement shows, I don't care enough to even defend myself. I can joke about this because it has zero impact on me, but you're not ignoring them. You're actively neutralizing their rudeness by turning it into something ridiculous. The slight smile or deadpan delivery is crucial. It shows, I see what you're doing, and it's pathetic. Epictetus taught, if evil be said of thee, if it be a lie, laugh at it. This is that laugh. But the laugh is in making their insult so absurd that nobody can take it seriously. Use this when someone's trying to diminish your achievements or make you look bad. When the insult is petty enough that it's actually funny. When you can deliver it deadpan without overdoing it. The key is brevity. One absurd agreement, then you're done. Don't explain the joke. Don't keep going. Just that one response that makes their rudeness look as ridiculous as it actually is. If you've ever turned an insult into a joke and watched the rude person's face fall, subscribe now. The final 2 responses will complete your Stoic arsenal against disrespect. Turning insults into comedy neutralizes them completely, but the 5th response is about strategic silence that says everything. Response 5. The slow nod. Okay, walk away. Someone goes on a rude rant at you. Multiple insults, accusations, disrespectful tirade, and you just stand there calmly. Let them finish. Don't interrupt. Don't defend yourself while they're talking. When they're finally done, you give them a slow nod. Say okay calmly, then turn and walk away. No explanation, no defense, no engagement, just acknowledgement that they spoke, followed by complete dismissal. This is one of the most powerful responses because it shows ultimate control. You're not running away hurt. You're not staying to fight. You're peacefully choosing to end the conversation. And that choice, that calm exit, is more devastating than any comeback could be. Because you're showing, nothing you just said was worth engaging with. I heard you, and I'm choosing not to participate in this. I watched someone handle an angry customer this way. The customer was having a complete meltdown, yelling about service, insulting the employee personally, saying things that had nothing to do with the actual issue. Just rage dumping. Most people would either yell back, get flustered and defensive, or stand there taking it looking hurt. This employee did none of that, just stood calmly. Let the customer finish their entire rant. When the customer finally ran out of steam, the employee gave a slow, deliberate nod, said okay in a neutral tone, then turned and walked to help another customer. The angry customer stood there confused, called after them, "That's it? You have nothing to say?" The employee didn't turn around, didn't engage, just kept walking. The customer's rage had nowhere to go. It just dissipated into confusion and then embarrassment. Because their entire emotional explosion had been met with calm acknowledgement and peaceful exit. Everyone else in the store had watched the employee stay composed while the customer lost control. The contrast was stark. The employee looked professional and strong. The customer looked unstable and small. Here's why this works. Rudeness is an emotional bomb. It wants to create an explosion. When you stay calm and simply walk away, you refuse to explode. The okay isn't agreement. It's just acknowledgement. I heard that. And now I'm done. The slow nod shows you're in complete control. Not reactive, not emotional. Just deciding this conversation is over. And walking away is the ultimate power move. You're choosing when the interaction ends, not them. Marcus Aurelius taught, you always own the option of having no opinion. This response is that option in action, not fighting their rudeness, not defending against it, just choosing not to participate in it at all. Use this when someone's ranting and won't listen to reason, when engaging would only make things worse, when you've already tried reasoning and it failed, when you can actually leave the situation physically. The slow nod is crucial. It shows, I'm calm, I heard you, I'm not rattled. Then the okay gives them nothing to argue against. And walking away without looking back shows their rudeness had zero impact on your peace. Peaceful dismissal is ultimate Stoic strength. But the final response combines silence with compassion in a way that changes everything. Response 6. I hope your day gets better. Someone's being incredibly rude to you. Harsh words, personal attacks, unreasonable anger, and you respond with something they never expected. I hope your day gets better, said genuinely, not sarcastically, not as a weapon disguised as kindness, just sincere well wishes. Then you disengage, walk away, end the interaction, because you recognize something most people miss. People who are that rude are usually miserable, and you're choosing compassion over combat. This response is devastating in the best way, because it's true. Happy people don't go around being cruel to strangers. Content people don't lash out at service workers or make cutting remarks to family members. Rudeness almost always comes from inner pain being expressed outward. When you say, I hope your day gets better, you're not attacking them, but you're holding up a mirror. And that mirror shows, you must be having a terrible day to treat someone this way. Most people can't continue being rude to someone who just wished them well. It breaks the script completely. I saw this happen at a coffee shop. A customer was being absolutely terrible to the barista, complaining about everything, making personal comments, raising their voice about minor issues that didn't matter. The barista stayed calm the entire time, fixed what could be fixed, didn't argue. When the customer finally finished their order and their rant, the barista just said, I hope your day gets better. Genuine tone, soft voice, then moved to help the next person. The customer stopped, just froze for a second. Their angry expression changed. Confusion, then something that looked like shame. They stood there for a moment, then quietly said, Yeah, sorry about that, and left. The shift in their face was visible, because they'd been met with kindness when they were being cruel, and kindness has a way of making cruelty impossible to maintain. That barista could have been rude back, could have been cold, could have just ignored them. But choosing to wish them well while clearly ending the interaction did something more powerful. It gave the person a moment to see their own behavior, and they didn't like what they saw. Here's why this response is the most stoic of all. Marcus Aurelius wrote, When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they can't tell good from evil. You're recognizing their rudeness comes from their own struggle. You're responding not with more negativity, but with a wish for their situation to improve. That doesn't excuse their behavior, but it refuses to let their behavior lower you. Use this when someone's clearly having a meltdown, when rudeness seems completely out of proportion to the situation, when you recognize they're in pain and taking it out on you. The key is the tone must be genuine. Any hint of sarcasm destroys this completely. It has to come from a real place of wishing them peace even though they're being terrible. Then you disengage immediately. Don't wait for their response. Don't try to fix them or teach them. Just offer that one moment of humanity and walk away. 6 silent Stoic responses. Complete silence with calm eye contact. I'm sure you didn't mean that the way it sounded. Interesting, why would you say that? Agree and amplify absurdly. The slow nod. Okay, walk away. I hope your day gets better. Subscribe now to keep learning responses that protect your peace without lowering yourself to their level. None of these require clever comebacks or perfect timing, just stoic discipline, the ability to stay calm when rudeness tries to pull you down. Marcus Aurelius knew the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You don't match rudeness with rudeness. Your calm exposes how small they are. Next time someone's rude, you have responses that protect your dignity while making their rudeness collapse on itself. That's stoic power. Not in dominating others, but in mastering yourself. Stay calm, stay stoic.